Meanwhile, in the other game, when you think of Newcastle and you speak of them, you think, yeah, on the road, they've really struggled. But St James's is a fortress. This is their third defeat now at home this season, obviously against Arsenal, against Liverpool, and now Aston Villa. A great performance from Villa. Emi Martinez pulling off some fantastic saves. Newcastle should have really taken their chances. They didn't, and they were punished. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair, and that's the idea here. I mean, they've got to be finishing some of the losses that you've mentioned. I don't think, especially at home, they're short of chances, right? I mean, they've created enough to win this. Emi Martinez absolutely outstanding. The game was in the balance for sure, but just Villa, that midfield, especially in the first half, right? I mean, I look at Onana, who's missed I think 4 games, and you could tell, right, that he wasn't there. Easy, of course, for me to go into that midfield. Bruno Guimaraes wasn't there. That's a big loss when you're playing against the like of Tielemans, Onana, and Morgan Rogers, because that first goal, I don't know if you rewinded it, but I did a couple of times because it was just so wonderful, right? Little triangle, one-touch football. Buendia, the one that changed the point of attack, and of course that finish was tremendous. But to me, sometimes, the goal was beautiful, but how did it happen? And that midfield with Onana, who just, box to box, tackles, anticipates, makes it so much easier for the likes of Tielemans and Morgan Rogers to kind of, maybe push forward a little bit and take chances. So if they stay together, they stay healthy. Villa, unusual loss, right, last week, especially at home, because you're talking about the advantages of being at home, right? Newcastle, St James's, same with Villa Park.
Especially when it's only Everton.
Yeah, against Everton. So, big bounce here. And again, I keep apologizing, Dan, you weren't here, but in the beginning of the season, I was very, very critical of Unai Emery in general. There's something about it that I was like, but I have to apologize because what he does is incredible. I mean, this Villa team has got basically 13, 14 players, and look what they do.
Just one more thing on what we saw from Newcastle in that first half. Shame that Tonali goal didn't go in. That would have been blooming. It was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, try and find it somewhere. The individual skill involved was just sensational.
I didn't know he could dribble.
I know.
And that was in that first minute, wasn't it? It was like right in the beginning. So yeah, I mean, they had their chances. These games can go different ways, right? As you mentioned, Emi Martinez, 2 incredible saves, and Anthony Gordon on that left-hand side. If he learns how to cross the ball with his left foot, maybe Newcastle would have won that game. Really, really frustrating watching him today.
Yeah, frustrating, I think, is a good way to describe Newcastle's season. Obviously doing fine in the Champions League, but there have been too many games where you just feel that they haven't turned up, or turned up as you would expect a team to be fighting for a Champions League place.
You know what it also is, and I don't know if it's just me, but I think, the manager gets a lot of credit in the bank, doesn't he? I mean, it's kind of likable.
Because he's English, darling, that you see we get credit, Janusz.
Likable figure. I think it's good, very good managers. I think the players do like playing for him. That's clear to see over the years. But there is something maybe missing that, I don't know him personally as a manager. What does he do after losses like that? Is he as nice as he comes across? I don't know. But I think they need to have a talk, because you're quite right. St. James's, we talk about it a lot, but this season hasn't been a fortress for sure.
Is there any world in which you're Unai Emery and you're thinking, have I reached the glass ceiling here at Villa? And if someone at Old Trafford gives me a call, I'll be thinking, look, I know I have to take a drop down initially, but I'm going to have the funds to be able to put together a real team to take us forward.
I think he's thinking the only reason I say no is because I think most people know that he runs the shop at Villa, which you're not going to get. We see it in Maresca.
That's true.
We see it with Manchester United. I mean, he's a one-man band. He decides who comes, who goes, and he's a little bit like Sir Alex Ferguson was at Manchester United. So, the American ownership is going to have to give him some money, right? They've had issues, obviously, with the PSR. I don't know when that ends. Then that's not my cup of tea to know exactly how much money they need to buy, sell, and all that. But I think he'll be frustrated because he understands if he can do so much with this squad, right? Then just imagine if he was able to buy, say, 3 or 4 key players in every formation. Then you can legitimately say that he's got a shot. And he goes out of his way, right? He says, well, we're not even top 5 team. And I don't know why he does that, but there is a message out there. And I think that's what you're insinuating with me.